right here. What an awesome pass through the slot, onto the stick of Batherson. Kachuk in tight up, let's get going, scores! Brady Kachuk wins it in overtime for Ottawa.
Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon and I am your host. We got some massive news today coming out of the nation's capital, and it's not from the Sanders organization per se, but it's actually from Tim Stützle himself. Look, the Sanders today hosted a season kickoff event, and Pierre Dorion, the Sanders general manager, brought on Tim Stützle onto the stage. And frankly, for anyone that was there, I don't think anyone there was expecting the news that Tim Stützle was about to drop. Because look, Alex DeBrincat was there, for example. I mean, it was probably just another player coming to speak to the fans and to the media that were there. But no, that could not be farther from the truth. Tim Stützle announced, frankly, some of the biggest news in franchise history, as he and the Sanders today have announced that they have agreed on an 8-year, $66.8 million contract extension with an average annual value of $8.35 million per season. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Stützle just got paid. And holy cow, did he get paid for sure. He is the highest paid Senator in franchise history, and the Senators are suddenly locked up long-term in their top six, which we're going to get into in just a couple of seconds. But I just want to mention another thing about the contract, by the way. The final 4 years of the contract extension has a 10-team no-trade list for Tim Stützle. This contract is actually an absolute steal for the Ottawa Senators, frankly similar to the Drake Batherson deal a couple years back, as Tim Stützle is now under Senator control until he is 29 years old. The Senators have locked up one of their youngest, frankly generational phenoms ever to 8 years, or I guess 9, including the last year of his rookie contract, for his prime years at a rate that frankly is going to look like a steal in a couple of years. When we signed Drake Batherson at 4.9, you look at him now, you're wondering how the hell he's not making above $6.5 to $7 million, right? That's the same thing that's what's going to happen with Tim Stützle. You're going to look at the contract in a year from now, and you're going to be like, holy hell, how the hell is Tim Stützle not making more than $8.35 million? Of course, there is some risk whenever you sign a player long-term. There's always risk that, it won't work out. But I'm pretty confident that this contract with Tim Stützle and the Senators is going to work out just fine. And, Tim Stützle, and this is really important to me, but Stützle said that he extended here because of the guys that are already in the organization. We've truly hit a new era in this organization's history, as it's actually justifiably false to say that Senators cannot extend or sign players long-term. It's just false. We've done it so many times now. I mean, just look at this. Remember a couple years ago, people were like, you know what? The hockey news, they're writing this, but it's never going to happen. Probably all the guys on this page in the next couple years could be traded because, frankly, us Sens fans, we went through a lot the last few years, and that's kind of what we were expecting. But no. Every guy on this page, on this front cover right here, has extended long-term with the Ottawa Senators. It's unbelievable. And these two right here, or these three, I guess, captain and your two top centers of the future. Unbelievable. And of course, Drake Batherson, a star in his own right. So my point is this. The Senators are locked up long-term with a plethora of fantastic, elite, young stars in their top six. And of course, Tom Chabot locked up long-term too on the back end. The Senators are built potentially to win a championship. So the hockey news, you nailed it on the head here. Unbelievable. And overall, the Senators, like I just said, have their two top centers of the future locked up long-term on, frankly, reasonable contracts. I mean, Norris and Stützle in probably 3-4 years' time are going to be worth probably upwards of $10 million per. They're both locked up for under $8.5 million per. So, great job by Pierre Dorion, which we're going to get into in a second. But once again, the Senators are locked up for the foreseeable future. I mean, Kachuk, Norris, Stützle, Chabot, Batherson, holy cow. Pierre Dorion, unbelievable. Great work. And actually, before we get to Pierre Dorion's masterclass summer, I just want to quickly touch upon Tim Stützle's numbers from last year. Last season, 22 goals, 58 points in 79 games played. Those are very, very solid numbers for any player, let alone a 20-year-old center in his second season in the National Hockey League. In the Eastern Conference, he was playing top 6 minutes, Tim Stützle, at center against some of the best centers in the National Hockey League. The Atlantic Division alone has some of the best talent, and he was going up against them almost every single night. Unbelievable. The defensive development we saw from Tim Stützle last year was incredible. And offensively, of course, he flourished. I mean, 30 more points from his season prior. I mean, his first year, he had like 25 or 30 points, 58 points. I mean, that's almost double, if not double. So Tim Stützle showed development in all aspects of his game. Defensively looked great. You know, center, in the center position, the face-off, I mean, look, he could do a little better. I think Claude Giroux's going to help him a lot with that in camp. But defensively, he looked solid. Offensively, looked fantastic. And like I just said, he was 20 years old and got 58 points. Look at this. Most players in the National Hockey League in a single season don't even ever hit 58 points. Tim Stützle did that at 20 years old, younger than me, by the way, at 20 years old with 2 third-liners next to him. That's no slant against, Connor Brown or Alex Formenton. They're fine players, but they're certainly not top 6 players, let alone the fact that Tim Stützle as a young player, he's usually, for young players, look, I'll keep it simple. For young players, you usually see young players anchor on to more experienced players and produce that way. But Tim Stützle kind of carried other players on his back and helped them produce. That's how good he is. At such a young age, he was helping other players produce already. Sort of similar, and I might catch some heat for this. Maybe not, actually. Sort of similar to Jason Spezza in his first few years in the National Hockey League. It's unbelievable. And look, with the Cat, Alex DeBrincat, and Claude Giroux on his wings going into next year, this kid is honestly primed to explode for potentially 30 goals and 80-plus points next year and moving forward after that. Unbelievable. Plus, Tim Stützle on the power play. Look, last year he had 19 points on the power play, but he's going to be dangerous, especially with the weapons they've added this offseason, like I just said, DeBrincat and Giroux. It's going to be unbelievable, Tim Stützle there. He's going to really pass the puck out thanks to his nifty hands. He's a great, great puck handler, Tim Stützle. It's very hard to knock him off the puck. More importantly, it's almost impossible to block his passes. And he also has a bit of a sneaky shot too, as we saw at points last year. He has a really, really accurate shot, so I really am excited to see him utilize that. But overall, what a signing for the Ottawa Senators. What a move for Tim Stützle too, really betting on himself and cashing in on himself here to stay with this core group of guys, but more importantly, to really build with this group of guys as they move forward, hopefully, to build a champion. Now I'll wrap it up with this. Let's recap Pierre Dorion's offseason. Ottawa, like I mentioned earlier in the video, has locked up their 2 top centers of the future in Josh Norris and Tim Stützle. Unbelievable. You can either have a 1A, 1B situation here and flip-flop either or. You got Stützle, who's projected, in my opinion, to get 80-plus points, or you can put Norris, who already has 35 goals in his chamber in 1 year alone, all right? Remember that. And also remember, Norris was injured for good amounts of the season last year. It's not unplausible, frankly, to say that Norris could have scored 40-plus goals last year if he stayed healthy. Also, let's take a look at the fact that Ottawa brought in a star goaltender this offseason. Ottawa hasn't really had stability in the back end since Craig Anderson in 2017, okay? It's been quite some time. They also, like I've already mentioned a few times, brought in a multiple 40-plus goal scorer and Claude Giroux. So DeBrincat, Giroux, Talbot, massive acquisitions. They also shed some salary with Colin White, unfortunately, being bought out. I love Colin White, but big contract had to be done. Matt Murray being shipped out for, frankly, nothing. It's overall but an unreal offseason for Pierre Dorion. So once again, unbelievable work, Pierre Dorion. Kudos to you. I've often in the past defended you, Pierre Dorion. There were times last year where I certainly wasn't defending you as much. But I am happy to say that, myself included, but many people were wrong about you, Pierre Dorion. It's funny how in 2 months you can really change the entire story around you. And, Pierre Dorion has, in my opinion, saved the Senators franchise this offseason. He's brought in so much interest back to the organization. Look, Anthony LeBlanc from the Senators organization today announced that the Senators have seen season ticket holders explode. Corporate interests are coming right back in. Look, corporations, local corporations here in Ottawa are trying to do business with the organization again. The Senators have not seen interest in the team like this in years. So it's safe to say that Pierre Dorion, in my opinion, has saved the franchise in a way in which the franchise was never leaving Ottawa, but he's really reignited the passion the city has for hockey and more importantly for this franchise. So once again, kudos to Pierre Dorion. I'm glad you proved us all wrong. And I can't say this enough, really fired up to see Tim Stützle and the rest of this team perform next year. And more importantly, to watch Tim Stützle at minimum for the next 9 years. Unbelievable. Welcome back to Ottawa, Tim Stützle. I'm kind of shocked he didn't wait until next year and to make a little bit more money. But I am happy to see him sign here on more of a team-friendly deal, to be honest with you, because like I've said many times, in the long term, this contract is going to look like an absolute steal. Besides that, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Is this a good deal or a bad deal? Too much money or too little money? Too much term or too little term? Let me know in the comment section down below. I appreciate your support as always. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Welcome back, Tim Stützle, baby. I'll see you in the next one. Go Sens, go.